Future-Proof is sponsored by Concordia Dental Healthcare, expert care you can trust. Welcome back to the programme. You're watching Sarah Hopwood as I continue these programmes looking at the merits of emotional intelligence and how it can impact on our lives, particularly in business. And in the first half I was talking about a painting, a story of an artist, a critic, looking at a painting and realising actually that the problem of thinking that the whole artwork was out of perspective and not right, he realised that the problem actually was his. The story is about Cummings was his name, Robert Cummings, who had joined many art critics saying that a painting by Filippino Lippi was just wrong, that the perspective was completely wrong and characters looked like they were falling out of the painting onto the floor. And he was the first one that had walked through the gallery and then had an aha moment. He stood there and he asked himself the question, and this is what we should be doing when we are accessing in knowledge around emotionally intelligent leadership. And the question he asked himself was, is the problem mine? And of course, by asking that question, it made him think what some would call outside the box. And by thinking outside the box, he started to experiment, which ended up leading him to kneel down, to take a stance, if you like, of humility. And it was only from that kneeling position that the whole perspective of the painting just resolved, if you like, and it all made total and complete sense. And I have used this story when speaking on the larger circuit because I have said this is exactly what emotionally intelligent leadership brings to a business. When people think and behave differently, when people stop and ask, is actually the problem lying with me and not other people? That's when we become much more effective, and that's when we can better start getting the results that we are looking for. All the time we are externalizing and looking outside and thinking that it's everybody else and not me. The problems just don't go away, and we just anchor in and we just get, if you like, repetitive problems, and we all just keep, if you like, walking around the same old mountain and keep having the same old problems. And thinking and using emotionally intelligent thinking can really, really help us solve those problems. So what I want to do for the rest of this program now is to talk in detail more about what emotionally intelligent leadership is all about. So, emotional intelligence, emotion is energy in motion. So when we have an emotional response to something, we will always see a shift. There is a shift of something. Now that can be a very slight flushing of colour, to a twitching of an eye, just one eye, not necessarily two, to stamping your feet and walking out of a room or slamming a door. There is an energy in motion reaction of some sort, which shows an emotional response. To be smart about it and to use it effectively, because it is a human response, we are emotional animals, is to actually see if we can be more decisive about those emotional responses. In other words, we choose to respond rather than react. We do things on purpose, with purpose, rather than knee-jerk and have what we call auto-response reactions, which really 9 times out of 10 are not helpful at all. The other thing too is the more we take control and do things on purpose with purpose means that we actually create healthier habits, so that as and when we do need a knee-jerk reaction, for example a fire in the building and we need to react very, very quickly, we are more likely to make a very good choice compared to an uncontrollable knee-jerk choice that hasn't actually been embedded by a habit, if you like, that's been created first. So I want to now go into what are these elements of emotional intelligence, and this is really just skimming the surface. There are people who are experts on the subject. I've always said I'm not an expert. I just happen to know quite a lot about the subject because of my own journey, and also for people asking me for advice and using me as a wise counsel, if you like, and also to discuss things and to discern on what the next move should be. And I use emotionally intelligent thinking to come up with that advice. So self-awareness is one of them, which is understanding your role or my role and the impact that it has on others. What play, if you like, are you in at home, or are you in at the business, and what is the title of your role? So this is where I've often invited people, and this comes out more in coaching than it does, if you like, from a larger platform. But I say, if your life was a play, who are you in this play, and who are the people around you in this play? And sometimes the people that challenge you most, the people who will be brave enough to tell you that they think that you're wrong in some way, very often are the people who care about you most. Not always, but there is a thread of truth there, that they are the ones that are bold enough and brave enough to absolutely challenge you. And so be careful of your reaction to that, because sometimes we just take offence and we take it as a negative, and we take it as a sign of, if you like, unlove or dislike. And very, very often that is not the case at all. So if you like, look at your stage, your awareness on that stage. Who is your empathizer? Who is somebody who gets alongside you and understands you? Who is your challenger? Who is your hero? Where are your barriers? Who is the person who's giving you barriers? Who is the person who's opening doors for you? Who feeds you, who drains you? And just look at this, if you like, this stage, and identify who these people are who are in your life and who are having positive impact on you and negative impact on you. And always remember, just because people are challenging you, don't automatically assume that's a negative. That could actually be a very, very strong positive for you. I'll never forget working with a CEO once, and she said to me, Sarah, one of your main roles in this business is I need you to challenge me, because no one else is. The higher up the food chain, these poor people are surrounded by yes people who are constantly telling them how brilliant and wonderful they are, and they're not challenging them. And she said, your role is to challenge me. That's why I want you in the business. So, please don't automatically see it as a negative. Awareness of others, managing the expectations of other people, and how are you being perceived by them? There's a great thing in communication. If what you are saying is not being understood properly, then it's actually your responsibility, or it's my responsibility as the communicator, to make sure that it does land properly. So it is for us to change our communication styles to make sure that it lands properly. And the best way we can do that is to actually try and better understand the other person and how they prefer to communicate. So for example, if somebody's very, very visual, then too many words and a massive long sentence or lecture on something isn't helpful to them. So to just stand there and repeat the whole thing again to think that you'll be better understood is really just a total misunderstanding of the powers of communication. If you can understand their visual, then stop talking to them and start drawing a picture, or get out examples, tangible examples that they can hold, so it can relate to their world. You stop relating to your world, you relate to their world. Empathy is about being able to see it from someone else's perspective, being able to see it from their shoes, and they say don't ever judge a man till you've walked with them for a while and know what it's like from their shoes. And empathy is absolutely crucial moving forwards. If you think of the world of artificial intelligence and what have you, then for a robot to in moment by moment exhibit empathy of some sort is a massive massive challenge to, some might even argue, near impossible. So this is where, as human beings, we can become even more humanly aware of other people. All I would say is be careful of false empathy. If somebody wants to get something from you, then you can often spot it, false empathy, when suddenly they're empathizing, they're showing that they're actually behaving out of sync to what is normal to them. And then before long, you know, the killer question comes in and they are wanting something from you. On an extreme level, if you think of online grooming, that is a very extreme example of false empathy. So please be very careful of it. Internal motivation. This is, why are you doing what you're doing? What is your intention? What are your motivations in the workplace? The way that you're dealing with your staff, the way that you're dealing with your peers. What is your motivation? Is it for the greater good of the company, or is it that you have selfish reasons somewhere? So very typically with people working towards retirement, sometimes it's trying to get the easiest life possible, working towards their retirement. And there are a few more, but we will be going into those in other programs. I'm here for a long time as I cover the power of emotional intelligence. Do go onto my website, do download that EQ diagnostic, use it yourself, share it, and also cross-reference the results that come from it. Have a good week, and I'll see you soon.